Foundation out of Kansas City, Missouri, and we bring entrepreneurs together to share their stories and foster success in local communities. So welcome, we're glad to have you here this morning. This group would not be possible without the hard work of some of my fellow organizers. If you're an organizer, please stand up real fast. Fred, So we have a fantastic speaker this morning. This week's presenter is Kristen Colesanti of Cover and Content. Established in 2016, Cover and Content is an exclusive creative agency currently catering to businesses in Daytona Beach, Palm Beach, Central Florida, and even Atlanta. Founder and creative director Kristen Colesanti is a graduate of the digital media program at Alexander W. Dreyfus School of the Arts, and she received a Bachelor of Science degree in photography from the University of Central Florida. With 11 years of photography, 9 years of graphic design, and 5 years of videography under her belt, she combines the techniques of all three mediums to form modern creative collateral for small businesses. Colesanti has received the Rising Star Award from the American Advertising Federation Daytona Beach for her rising success. And she's had her work shown nationally in Harper's Bazaar, Town and Country, and InStyle magazines. Please join me in welcoming Kristen Colesanti.
Cover and Content. So I'm going to do a brief overview, kind of discussing some points that we already covered, but going to go a little in depth with it from my background and then dive straight into my business. So I graduated from Alexander W. Dreyfus School of the Arts back in 2010 from the digital media program. I studied graphic design, photography, and videography there. I've had a really extensive background in which I actually started photography back when I was in 6th grade. And I was very fortunate to be able to participate in going to magnet programs down in South Florida, where I was able to study photography, graphic design, and videography, which most public schools don't necessarily have those programs. I ended up getting accepted into art school for college, but art school is super expensive, so I decided to come to Daytona Beach to study photography. And I graduated back in 2014. So over that, I've done 11 years photography, 9 years graphic design, 5 years of videography. And I've had my work shown all over the place. Sorry, I'm a little artist. So starting off, my background wasn't necessarily doing commercial work. My background was doing more fine art photography. That was my main focus. And for fine art photography, it was something I was very passionate about, because I actually ended up having my house burned down 2 days before my freshman year of high school. So from that happening, I found photography as kind of being my outlet to kind of cope with that kind of struggle. And from that, I participated in many different gallery shows across the country, submitting my work that I created in both high school and college. Some of those places cover Florida, California, New York, Louisiana, and I actually had one of my photos on display at the President's Committee of the Arts and Humanities in Washington, D.C. for a year. And these are two of those award-winning photos. The one on the right was the one that was showcased in Washington, D.C. And, excuse me, sorry, I'm a little nervous.
You're great.
Actually one of the photos inside of my burn house that I had actually taken. And so this one I won the American Vision Award from the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards back in 2011. This one is another photo from my burnt house that I actually won a silver award at nationals for the photo. Some of my other fine artwork has also been featured in some museums: the Norton Museum of Art in West Palm Beach, the Ogden Museum of Southern Art in New Orleans, Mississippi Museum of Art in Jackson, Mississippi, as well as the Southeast Museum of Photography right here in Daytona Beach. And these are two photos from some of those museum showings. So the one on the left was one that I actually created back in 2006, and it also won an award from the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, where it received gold in nationals as well. that photo was displayed in those museums in Mississippi and in New Orleans. And then this photo on the right was from my senior thesis. So as you can tell, my work is very much on the fine art side, nothing to do with commercial whatsoever. So then in my college experience, I ended up diving more into doing commercial work. I had an awesome photography teacher named Charles Hodges, in which he really dove into really getting me keen on commercial work, and I got really excited about it. And from there, most of my work was all photography, not graphic design. So he kind of flourished this idea in me, in how can I combine my photography with my graphic design. So the rest of my college experience, I decided to focus my work on coming up with a commercial portfolio that I can then showcase to get a job after I graduate. So all my work I focused on doing concept advertisements. And from that, I ended up getting involved with the American Advertising Federation, with actually Kim, who is here, who's been a big supporter. And starting off, I ended up winning a gold Addy Award for a car commercial that I did in college on the student level. And then my senior year, I ended up getting 1 gold and 2 silver student awards. And now I have received the Rising Star Award, as you guys heard before, as an individual. And I just actually won a silver Addy Award for a commercial that I did. So these are 2 concept advertisements that I did in college. And the one on the left is actually one of the ones that I had received a gold Addy Award at a student level. So as you can tell, it's very much on the commercial side compared to just doing fine artwork. And it was just really getting me excited to participate and just really get involved in the commercial world. So from that, after I graduated, I ended up moving down to South Florida again. And I actually was able to get published in some of the national fashion magazines by the age of 23. And here is one spread that I did. So I actually did the photo that is on the right. I did from concept to execution on the project. And this one was displayed in Harper's Bazaar's Spring Fashion magazine for fall. And for fall, it's really exciting because fall fashion is usually the biggest exciting time for the fashion industry. That's when most of the new fashion and lines come out. So being able to have my photograph in there was super exciting because that's a really huge deal. Being able to get that opportunity, I started off at a jewelry designer. Her name is Stephanie Cantus, and that's why I had relocated back to West Palm Beach. And I additionally, well, I guess I'll get into that in a second, but I was able to have the opportunity to be able to photograph her national campaign for fall 2015. So here's another photo that I had photographed and edited for Town and Country magazine, as well as for In Style magazines. So enough a little bit about me. I'm going to dive a little bit more into the business side now. So how it all began. So going back, I started off as an assistant graphic designer at the jewelry company. And it was kind of an opportunity that I was able to get from my photography teacher back in high school. He called me up after I graduated and he's like, hey, I know this individual who's now working at this jewelry company. They're looking for a graphic designer. So I'm like, well, I haven't really dabbled too much in graphic design. I've been doing a little bit for college, but I'll try it out. So I drove down. He let me stay at one of his rental properties while I had my interview, and I got the job. They called me up the next day, letting me know that I could now work there. So I started off as an assistant graphic designer, and within a year, I worked my way up to being the manager of the marketing department. So I was in charge of all of the collateral for the company, which was very exciting, especially at my age. Because if I would have tried to do this out in New York City, for example, trying to do this for like Dave Bierman or any other high-end fashion designer, there would have been no way that I would have been able to have this kind of opportunity. So it was a great experience, and I got to have my work in national magazines, but I wanted something more. And fashion is just not really my thing. I can appreciate it, but I don't like it. So with that being said, I decided to take the risk and try to do something else. And here are just some samples of some of the email blasts that I did for the jewelry company. So, as many of you guys know, Startup Company is an entrepreneurial venture which is typically a newly emerged, fast-growing fast-growing business that aims to meet a marketplace need by developing or offering an innovative product, process, or service. Oh, so that's a startup. Well, I moved back to Daytona not really having any clue what I was doing. For some reason, Daytona was just calling me back. And so I decided to take the risk and move back. I was very fortunate to have some people who were very fond of my work to want me to work with them. So I ended up coming back out here. And then I heard about Startup Weekend. So Jack White, who's in the audience somewhere. There he is. So he's an awesome guy, and he's been a big supporter and one of my good friends. And he was like, hey, you gotta go to Startup Weekend. I'm like, what the heck is Startup Weekend? I didn't know anything about startups whatsoever. And he's like, well, I'll sponsor you to go. I'm like, great, I'll try it out. So after attending that, I ended up starting my own startup just a couple months later in January of 2016. So when I first moved out here, Jack was actually one of my first clients. I originally started off being a marketing intern with them back in 2013, but after I accepted the job at the jewelry company, I had to leave, unfortunately. And it was bittersweet leaving because Jack and Kelly were awesome to work with, but I knew I had to do it just to get some different experience. So when I let him know that, hey, I'm thinking about coming back, he's like, I have a job for you. So he's like, I can pay you this much for this amount of work. I know somebody else who could use graphic designer. Just come on out and give it a try. I'm like, all right, well, let's do this. So another job that I ended up getting after working with Jack and another client, I ended up working with the Society for Photographic Education. They're the National Society for Photographic Education. And I was able to put together their International Combined Caucus Exhibition magazine, which they handed out at the SPE National Conference last year. So being able to work with Jack, the other client, and have random jobs coming up, I'm like, okay, well, it seems to be a little bit of a need for my services out here. So a startup is a company working to solve a problem where the solution is not obvious and success is not guaranteed. Now, I picked this quote because I felt like it would really emphasize me going into starting a startup, because I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. I didn't know if what I was doing was going to be successful, but I just tried it out. So unobvious solutions. So how have I enhanced something that already exists with my business? Well, I think because of my background of being able to do photo, video, and graphic design, I think that sets me apart a little bit compared to other individuals in the area. Not many people have that dabbled experience. Usually their main focus is either graphic design or their main focus is photography or videography. And I decided to just combine all three techniques. I work one-on-one with my clients, which is something that I'm very passionate about. I love sitting down with them, going over things, and even just hanging out. A lot of my clients are some of my friends. I also offer as-needed services, so a lot of times I don't necessarily work on retainer. I usually work with people on just like one-time projects here and there, and that seemed to be a very popular thing because not many startups, for example, can afford having a graphic designer full-time. So they'll take me on doing some various projects. And I think a lot of it too, I sold myself in regards to my personality and my work ethic. I feel like people are really drawn to me and my work, and I think that's what separates me a little bit as well. But again, this is something that I don't really know if that's correct or not. That's just my perspective on it, because again, I went into it not really knowing what the heck I was doing. So it was more of a risk than anything else. So some of my target market that I figured out over the first year of business, that established small businesses, startups, and political campaigns have been a big revenue maker for me. And being able to work with these kinds of companies has just been a steady flow. And because Daytona Beach is growing so fast, and right now it's number 4 in Forbes for one of the fastest growing cities, which is amazing for Daytona Beach. I think that because there's so many startups and entrepreneurs, that my success is in direct correlation with that. So for example, these are just some of the various projects or clients that I've worked with over my first year of business. So I've worked with the Running Elements where I did branding, Beach Vision, I just did branding for them. And they're based off of the old firehouse that's in New Smyrna Beach. I just branded the Sweetheart Trail. If you guys have heard of the Sweetheart Trail right here in downtown, new biking and walking path, which you guys should totally check it out. It's still in the process of being finished up and being built. but I got to do all the branding, wayfinding for it. I worked on the Larry Bartlett campaign specifically for a commercial. I didn't do logo design or anything, but I worked on a commercial for them. Emmett Eyewear is another client that I work with occasionally for graphic design. And then I also worked on the Chipwood campaign, which is actually one of the primaries. Because of that, I am now working with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. We have a big contract with them, which is really exciting. So unguaranteed success. So taking the risk of starting my own business. So how did I get the money to start? You think most businesses just starting out usually take out a loan or they do fundraising. I saved up $1,500 before quitting my last job. Not a lot of money, but I wanted to get out and try Daytona Beach. So I risked staying at a friend's house before I ended up finding my own apartment. And on the plus side, I already owned a lot of my equipment. So I have put very minimal money into buying any sort of equipment, but being able to get started, I already had most of the tools to get the job done. Using local resources. So again, Startup Weekend was a big step for me because I had originally had been thinking about starting my own business, but I was thinking more on the freelance side, not really establishing, having an actual LLC and setting everything up. So going to Startup Weekend just made me realize, well, I could totally do this. We can go over everything in a weekend. Why can't I just get this done? So from that, I was then introduced to 1 Million Cups, which ended up happening that following Wednesday after the first weekend of Startup Weekend. And I met one of my long-term clients now from that event. And then also the Boss Lady Retreat. I met some phenomenal women in the area who are local entrepreneurs who were starting up their own businesses, and I've been able to work with them on various projects. So those are some of the local resources that I've used. And going back to 1 Million Cups, Chris Gilpin from Signal Ball. If you guys have already attended this before, then you have probably seen his presentation. So Chris Gilpin, awesome guy. I mean, I ended up meeting him at 1MC, and I introduced myself, congratulated him on all of his success, and after he spoke, and I ended up leaving, and something told me to go back. So I went back to him, and I'm like, hey, here's my business card. I offer graphic design, photo, and video services. Probably have that covered since you just on Shark Tank and you're huge right now. Hit me up if you don't. And he's like, you know what? I see that you're passionate. I see you're excited about what you do. I'm actually currently looking for a new graphic designer because I feel like the one that I have isn't really fitting my needs. So I gave him my business card on a Wednesday. He called me that Friday. I have a test project for you. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Since then, I have worked with him on all of his branding, his packaging. I deal with his clients for doing custom cards. I actually just rebranded him recently last month, and we're going to be doing all new packages and card designs. And he's a great client to work with. And because of 1 Million Cups, I have had a client that I originally started off with working on a couple projects, did a 3-month retainer, 6-month retainer, and now we have a 1-year retainer. And he's a great guy. He's a great guy. So in relation to Startup Weekend, in regards to another resource, I was lucky to work with, what's his name? I think his name is Brett from Bert's Hot Sauce. Yes, so Brett attended the first Startup Weekend, and I met him at that event. And so he contacted me, I think about middle of last year, and he's like, hey, I loved what you did at Startup Weekend. We're coming up with a new pepper and salt product. Can you work on packaging for us? I'm like, sure, why not? So another connection from Startup Weekend, which is very exciting. They just launched, I think, their website recently. And then the Boss Lady Retreat, which was very exciting. So Lacey, who's actually here today, she has been working on awesome projects for idea dinners and came up with the Boss Lady Retreat. And from that, I've met some awesome women, but I was able to actually work on her branding for the Boss Lady Retreat. It was really exciting. I just did their website, have a work on doing promo stuff for them, and it's been a breeze. So between those 3 events, those 3 resources, I've gained a lot of monetary value from that. So in regards to obstacles along the way, I immediately brought my service to market without any research, and I just hoped for the best. That's probably the worst idea you could probably make, but I didn't really have much of a choice, and I just figured, you know what, might as well put all my eggs in one basket and see what's happening. I'm meeting some awesome people want my services, might as well take the risk. So in regards to validating my service, I think it goes back again to the passion and dedication that I have for my work. I've gotten so many client referrals. Most of my clients that I've worked with have been somebody else that I've worked with has referenced them to me. So that's been a big help. And just my experience, I've been doing photo video graphic design for a long time now, and I think that definitely helps. So one quote that I feel like really relates to me: your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work, and the only way to do great work is to love what you do. And I absolutely love doing what I do. So working at the jewelry company was one situation where it was exciting, but it didn't really fulfill that need of being able to be creative in lots of different ways. So being able to work with multiple companies kind of separates that out for me. I'm able to work, for example, on marketing for a new trail, then working on a political grid campaign, to working with an eyeglass company, to working with a land company. It's all different things, but it keeps me on my toes, and it keeps, in my opinion, my creative juices flowing. And for me, that's what's really exciting. So unplanned prosperity. How much do I spend on marketing? I have spent $0 on marketing. Hold on. And I think because of that, that's really helped me overall. Most companies are spending money on whether it be Facebook ads, social media ads, spending money on SEO and all that other fun stuff. And I have not had to do that in order for my business to be successful. And going back to how, I think it really originally, though, how much I charged. Originally it was $20 an hour, which is not a lot. Over the past year, I've kind of raised it up to $50. Once I started seeing that people wanted my services, so I felt like there was more value to my work, so I raised it up. And so my future goal is to start charging more of $75 an hour for my services. Now, the majority of my work is hourly based. However, some clients like to work based off of having a set price for a certain project, so I do that as well. But I reference this because the majority of my work is hourly. So how am I making money? Well, I made about $70,000 this past year, my first year of business. And I had a profit of roughly about, I'm still going over my taxes. Taxes are the worst thing ever, and having to deal with accounting is not my favorite thing, so I'm still working on everything. But roughly, I made about $55,000 after expenses and taxes, which went in pocket, so direct profit. Most of my expenses, like I said, I didn't have much. I spent $0 in marketing. I had a computer ready. I ended up purchasing a laptop before I quit my job using a Best Buy credit card, yay for zero financing. And so I was just paying that off on a monthly basis. And I think I've only had to, I bought, lights, I already have programs to work on anything. So Adobe Creative Suite, I had 5.5, a little bit of old school now because that came out back in 2010, 2011. And I only just recently went to Creative Cloud, so yes for that. But yeah, so most of my expenses I had on my equipment. I had a camera, I had lenses. I didn't need much of anything. Expenses fell under business cards, fell under paying for my domain name, for my website hosting, and that was pretty much it. So because of that, I've had much success in regards to the amount of profit I made. But going back into that, my second year, I want to try to go up to $100 grand, hopefully, and that's my goal. So we'll see how that goes. So what's next? So my biggest way to get to that goal is I need to figure out how to properly raise my prices. So I have set prices with clients already, and it's like, how do I go ahead and move forward and work with them on how to figure out, okay, well, I'm gonna start charging this, like, you're gonna take it, right? I mean, it's not that easy. So that's one of the things that I need help with. I need to try to enforce how to be more exclusive. Right now, any job that I get, I am saying yes to. Everything and everything, and anything and everything. And because of that, I wanted to be exclusive and work with a set amount of companies, and I feel like I'm kind of losing that aspect of my initial goal. So I want to try to hone down on that. I'm also tempted to figure out when would be a good time to open up a storefront in which that I can take and actually have a studio that I can work out of, for doing any sort of filming, photography, as well as if I decide to hire not to hire, being able to have somewhere that if they do hire people, that they'd be able to go to. So those are kind of some of my what's next goals that if you guys have any feedback on would be awesome. So I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of advice, and sorry if I went through this pretty quickly, but I'm convinced that about half of what separates the successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones, pure perseverance. Steve Jobs. Now, I think that's very important because I think a lot of people have great ideas, but they're scared to follow through. They're scared of risk, they're scared of failure. And I think from putting all my eggs in one basket, I really just dove full force and took all my effort and my time to building my business. And I think that if any of you who are starting out or looking starting out or have a business already, just keep kicking butt. Even if you fail, learn from it and keep going. So that's just something that I wanted to leave you all with. And thank you.
Excellent job, Kristen. Thank you for sharing your story. Does anybody have any questions?